Well, I did find another one and a box. I thought there was something in that. And it's the pads and the pieces you need for those. So I've got two and I need one more. Of course I do, just need one more. You can't win sometimes. So today I'm at the point where I'm going to need to fit the point motors, get those storage lines sorted out and the platform lines laid and gauged, and we'll go from there. Bit of a boring day in one sense, that lots of those little itty bitty things, but I think showing you how I fit the point motors might be interesting. So we'll do a couple of those. It is frustrating that I haven't got the last one, because the last point will be attached or very close to the other one, so you really want them in at the same time. We'll have to have a look at that. Now then, I've just noticed in the comments somebody asking for the scope of the project. What are you doing? All right, so this end of the board is having a remake. There's an incline that comes up there, used to run along the wall there. It's now going to come to the front of the board and join up over here with two tracks there. Those two tracks run off that way and go around the loop and come back again. There is a junction that goes off over there, but that's essentially what that does. Down here, adding 3 storage yards, storage sidings, which will join up to the end of the branch line. Those weren't there before. There were 2 over here, so we've gained a couple. Moved everything back a little bit and aligned it properly. So the underground station, as far that way as we can get it, still a storage line down there. And then all of this is going to get covered over. Well, not that. You're going to be able to look down at the cut and cover station. So up on top then you've got the 2 tracks that go around and join up with the incline. And then on the other side of that, a freight storage line. So that's the main line. This end goes off to the loop and this end goes off to the incline. A junction then, single slip, head shunt of some sort. And a crossover one way or the other. So very simply, a 2-road freight depot with a runaround and a little bit of a head shunt, not very much. And it will enable trains to come into the freight yard, do their thing, run back out again, around the loop, back in. So it's an out and back upper deck. The trains are going to populate that. This one with the ferry wagons, and there's the other locomotive that will be up there. So both of them very much southern region. This one very much third rail. Pantographs just for use in yards. I've thought about putting overhead wires in the depot just because I can. So I hope that answers that question. Sorry I hadn't kept you all up to date with what I'm up to. The head shunt, because I have a feeling that this thing is going to make an appearance up there too. I was just looking at that storage line. This is the rear storage line. There's a couple of places. I'm going to clean that track up with something. There isn't that just needs joining together. I don't know why that was there and why it wasn't connected. Lots of dropper spots on that track. It's old track, but probably should solder across the joints on that. This one's got one. That's just moved over from there. Bit of a blobby joint, but it is on. So yeah, so we've got a little bit of work to do. Lots of itty-bitty stuff. I then do need to get that block detection circuit put in. I think I've shown you before, but that's how the other ones are done. They go to connector blocks on a big chunk of wood. That was because there was solder joints that I had to make to get to the block detection. I have a feeling the reason for the redesign will be that these have screw terminals, so it will be a whole lot easier, and actually have a sensible way of mounting to just poke a screw through them. Now, as far as LocoNet, that's actually the nearest point all the way down there. There's nothing all the way around the board. I'm surprised I haven't got LocoNet on my bench, but don't. And it's all the way up the other end there to the next one. So I've got one of these somewhere. I shall find it, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to put one over at the end of the layout here by the station throat. So somewhere there under the engine shed, that makes some sense. That'll give me a place to get at LocoNet. Well, here is one. It cost me $18. It's been in the drawer for ages. So that's what they look like. And there's the front plate. So we'll pop that onto the layout and chop into the LocoNet cable. Why am I doing things in this order? I want to make sure I've got everything. I was having a little think about where the LocoNet cable and terminators are, but I saw them in a video I was uploading a few weeks ago. And one of you from Northern Ireland, just you know who you are, you said, oh, look, there's your tester. I'm going to talk about that. So in this drawer here is where we will have seen that. So this is the tester in question. Let's pull that out. We're going to need some cable. All I do is buy really long cables rather than buy the cable itself. They come with a connection on one end. You cut it and put the other end on. Also hiding in this drawer is another piece of cable. We'll use that one first. You've got a bunch of connectors there, Ian. Yeah, these are not for this. These are network connectors, and they're not the same. These are the ones I have to use. RJ11. There's a bunch of them in there. The crimper does the same thing. It works for both of them. However, let me talk to you about LocoNet and its nonsense. Why couldn't they just stick with a convention? You've got enough pins in there. So the tester will show when pin 1 is connected to pin 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, and so on. All very lovely. However, the problem, LocoNet in its infinite wisdom decided to reverse the cables. Why does it matter? Well, you can't use, where is it? Can't use these things, end-to-end connectors. You have to have a connector that reverses things, so pin 1 becomes pin 8, and when you're used to making network cables, not helpful. So LocoNet can be a real pain if you don't get the connections right, and if you don't get them right, just snip it off and turn the cable over. But the way I do it is I take a cable that I know is good and copy it. That's cheating. Here's what I'm talking about. You see the white inside there when the clip is up. For network cables, white is on the right. For LocoNet, you have to have one of them that way up and one the other way. So you go from left to right. So you end up with a cable with one end has the white on the right and the other has the white on the left. And that's out of the packet. And so it's easy to get these wrong when you're making them. But up under the board, there's a multi-core there. This is the rail bus. There's a green and a brown, that'll be 9 volts. What else have we got there? There's a 2 other whites. I don't know what they are. I wouldn't expect they're the same. So yeah, don't know. So there's one pair I don't know what are. The multi-core will be blocks from the block detection. And this is LocoNet. And so what we will do is we'll find a place around here somewhere to cut it, probably under the engine shed. And I found it again. There it is. Look, there. We'll cut it a bit that way and bring it this way so that that's long enough. And then run, we'll terminate the other end and run it into the back of the Digitrax panel. And there's 2 or 3 connections there. So cut one there somewhere, terminate in the panel, drag the other piece off around this way, which gives me a nice long piece. And wherever we're going to put the panel for the block detection, we'll plug one end into that. And then all I've got to do is make a cable up that goes between the two. Easy, right? Yes. So we'll get on with that once we've established where we're going to put that block. I'm just making sure I've got everything. And that is how mess accumulates. So let's move that. Now I know I've got that. We can do that. The end of this video, I hope to have at least the tracks down so that we can start running trains. I wish those point motors were here. I'm now being delayed because they're not. That's not fun when I've got a day off. There are 16 blocks there, and I'm not going to use 16 on this. So probably a multi-core will run off to somewhere else on the layout. It's getting near lunchtime and I'm stalling, but I do want to show you something else before I do anything else. This is the end of the board we're talking about. Now, this is a block diagram, so this layout, of course, isn't accurate. But we will need to get a couple of storage lines in there and attached there. There was one that came off there and was on there that was never drawn on here. It was a manual, flick the switch and shove it in. But we need to correct this drawing. That's going to get exciting. There's not a lot of space in there. Let's get the layout made, and then where do we put the upper deck too? I think I can bring that into the middle here somewhere to indicate where that goes. I could extend this way, but it fits neatly on a page. So yeah, it's going to be interesting trying to fit it all in. I could move this over, 3 there, and then get the others in there. But we've still got to get the yard in. And I don't want to make it all bunched up. So I want the block diagram to at least be a representation of what's out there. Yes, we'll see. 2 blocks there. I will physically move those down here because we're going to end up with 2 more blocks up here. That's the top of the viaduct here, of course. And the yard will come off there. I could bring it off there underneath, and it's not a very complicated layout. So just physically move those blocks down. They're there simply, it's neat and tidy. But if I put the points there and move those blocks down, that's actually a better reflection of where they are. Points there, then move those around. No, add 2 and leave those alone. Yeah, it's a little bit of needs some thought. And how we do that, I haven't been into that since it was first drawn, and that's right around 15 years ago. So yes, it's not that I can't do it. I know what I want to do and why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's just I don't know which buttons to press. It's the same with the Arduino thing. Know what it's supposed to do, but just don't know how to press the buttons. So we will have to rediscover and relearn that. So that's another project. I won't make it a video. You really don't want to see me struggle with drawing on a computer. Do you? As I say, there's a big cleanup going on in the background, and a couple of other projects. This is hard drive, and it says recertified. It's one of those thumb drive things. This is what I keep all of the videos I make stored on. I didn't realize it was recertified. It makes me a little nervous, but found that. I knew I had one somewhere. A couple of sound cards. There's a project coming up with that. We're going to make station announcements for platform 3 here. So 1, 2, 3. As the train comes in, it will sequence through a few announcements, and I want to show you how I do that. So once we get this extension done, we'll get on with that. Now look at that mess. And that's all just me finding bits. So let's pile that up somewhere and get it out of here. And over here, yet more mess. It's so easy. And I thought I'd put those away. Yes, let's get on the cleaning schedule, shall we? Now, it's not often I laugh out loud when I read comments, but I did in the a couple of days ago, and one of you said that it looked like the delivery to the freight yard of Explodium had gone badly wrong. It really did, didn't it? We're not going back there. This is done. This point is in place. We will. There'll be some adjustment on the front end of this, so that track needs gauging from the back. That point is in place. There's a point motor on it. I'm not moving it. If it moves a millimeter or two, that's one thing, but beyond that, no. What I'm looking at now is there's a curve, sweeping curve into that point, and then there's a curve that way. So because of that zigzag, I want to get this point further down this way than you would expect, just to get away from that. But the further you go, the more it becomes a right-handed point. So there's a compromise there coming. The distance between there and there will be 10 centimeters. That's the size of the platform we're going to use further up there. But it can be more or less here. We've got room to zig it into the platforms, which will be down that way. Of course, before we can locate that, we've got to get these two in place. At least that end of this one. So we're going to be starting at the back end of the platforms and working this way, and then we'll just make it join up with what we've got. Yeah, a little bit of an awkward. Somebody said something about I needed to find the short pieces. No, you just nip them off of flexi-track, like this piece here. That's just a piece that's been cut, as is that. It works just fine. So no, we're not doing that. In fact, there's a good one up there, look, you see it? This is just flexi-track that you nip off, and you have to trim the ends of the sleepers anyway to make it fit with the points. But yeah, that's the next track laid against a piece of lumber, the rail, not the sleepers, up against the lumber. The wood's not quite straight, and then I've measured out from the wall. What is that? It's supposed to be 10. It's 9.5 there. What is it there? 9.5. If it's 9.5 up here, I'll keep it at that. It is. So how far has the track moved over? Something like 6 centimeters, 15 feet. Which means this will move that same distance, so that will be there somewhere. Yes, about in the right place. So if that's right, there should be 10 centimeters between them. Yeah, look at this. We're right on. So I haven't gauged this yet, but we're right in the right place. So now, with that in mind, we can work backwards this way. Yeah, it really would be better with a right-hand point there, wouldn't it? What to do? I don't have one, unless I steal it from the yard. Could I do that? Yeah, I could. In fact, I'm thinking the head shunt could go left instead of right. I'll have a look, see what I've got, but certainly this looks like it would work better with a right-hand point there. let's get that one pinned. Remember that piece of wire I cut off? It's underneath the track, would you believe? Of course it is, Ian. You stand that up. There it is. Right there. Clean up as you go. Don't, he says, not throwing it away. It's in the bin now. Measure twice, pin once. I'm going to just check these measurements again. 9.5. Oh, that's crept in a bit. There we go. Doesn't have to be perfect, it's just this piece up here that needs to be straight, because that's where the platforms will be. Let's just pin this with thumbtacks. And this, of course, will get third and fourth rail. I'm going to take the pins out and push nails in one at a time. We'll start over here. Can't see, the light's not good at this end of the board. Here we are. In you go. One more here and one more up there and we're done. That's that engaged. I'll throw the platform in there just to show you what we're on. There we go. Now it looks like we haven't done anything because this is more or less where it was before, but it's that more or less that makes the difference. This track was there, this track was there, and that one was here. Remember I measured off and said that's where we need to end up as a minimum? Right on it. Ideally just a little bit further out, but we're good. That will work. So now there's room for a building and a single lane road which can come all the way to the edge of this. I wish I had more of this stuff. This is really lovely. That sort of kind of sets the height though, doesn't it? Which is it that height? I think it is. Let's hoik it in there. Yeah, that's the height of that. All right, well, we'll make it make sense. The underground station then will go across the end with stairs down onto the platform, meaning there's a road overbridge, so I could move this down even a little further. That is the length of an underground train-ish, and they can always sneak out here. What's going to happen is that the feed for the goods yard will come across the top of there. Now, either that's the end of it and there's nothing more here, or alternatively, it's just a single bridge with a little more platform this end before we hit the industrial site. The left-hand point, I figured could go there. Remember I wanted a runoff or head shunt? Well, now we've got one. Originally, this was going to go there. We can just as easily come around and go right. We still have plenty of space that way. I just noticed all the reused track lying over there and realized there's more length there than I anticipated there being. So now I have another idea. Since we've now got a right-handed point there, and this will attach to it, if I say block starts here and ends there, it's a short block, but you can actually store a short train on that block, which would be handy. Yeah, it would be in front of the storage lines over there. Let's see if that would work. We're not going to force the curve tight by doing that, but let's see how much we get in there. We've got to get 3 storage sidings over there. And again, we're going to start at the back and work this way, bringing the minimum radius on the inside one as a second radius. Not anything on the layout will be at that point tighter than this then. Ease it as much as you can, but don't go tighter than second. Be really careful of that engine shed. I am standing on a wooden box. It's quite stable, but it's brought me up to knee high to the layout so that I can reach over there and get things done. Well, there's the 3 tracks. They're not properly spaced yet. That one's a bit far away. One of the dangers is you get too close to the running rails and then you don't have room to put something in between. And if you want that something to slope, that becomes too close. So cheating those back a bit might help. But we need to get the points in too. Bare minimums are those lengths, so we do need to make them a little longer, but we do have a lot of space. So I think 1 full length to between the points as a minimum will give us enough room for at least a train to sit there. Putting that there to remind me. You've got to do the 3rd and 4th rail. Noticing a little problem there. Do you see the board join? Putting a point over a join isn't a problem if the join is level. That one sort of kind of is, but you get very close to the infrastructure that's underneath. However, we could put the point motor on top, but in this instance I don't want to do that because there's another board here. So dragging that point back reduces the usefulness of this run-in, which is disappointing. But if I come further back still, I've still got another point to get in. Can still use it for a locomotive or whatever, but probably wouldn't. But look at the length of there's plenty of room. There's 2 feet from here to there, so that's nice smooth second. So that that far storage siding is very long, so we could split it. I'm just trying to maximize the usefulness. I know we're over the join, but we're well back here. I will use the 2 point motors here, I think, rather than this one initially. I'm thinking aloud, and it's always dangerous when I do that. So if we set a sensible distance from this track to that, bring it around to join up with this, and then just have the others follow that curve, that will be fine. This is second radius, and so we're going to be well wider than that, so we've met that criteria. Gentle sweeping curve, even though it's hidden, just because trains travel around gentle curves much better than they do steep ones. I do need to take care of these block and dropper connections before we go much further, or I won't remember which one's which, and that will get really nasty, so we need to take care of that. Lunchtime. I've done quite enough for one morning. We're getting on with it. Lots of chatter, but you've seen a couple of bits of track go down. We're getting there. Again, no trains running. That will be in the next one. Really, thanks for watching. Really appreciate you all. And the encouragement is needed. This is the least favourite part of railway modelling for me. I don't mind the track laying, but it's all the mess. Ooh, Another video up here. We'll see you next time.